question for you. What do you think is the best selling supermini in Europe? Volkswagen Polo, right? Wrong. Okay, the Ford Fiesta, the best selling car in the UK for as many years as I care to remember. No, wrong again. No, it is in fact this, the Renault Clio, a car that is now 30 years old. Just like me, but one of us has clearly aged better. Yeah, it's the Clio, isn't it? This small, popular French supermini has now entered its 5th generation, but can the new model do enough to maintain its top dog status? Keep watching to find out. Yeah, the heavens have just opened, so I'm now quite wet. Anyway, the show must go on. In regard to the styling, I think Renault has got off to a flying start with the new Clio. Yes, okay, the design isn't a million miles away from its predecessor, but that is by no means a bad thing. There are some differences though. The car is lower and it is also wider, and the length of the car is also a little bit shorter. You may have also noticed these wonderful front lights, which do look like a copy and paste job from the latest Renault Megane, but that is by no means an insult. The interior, on the other hand, this is where the changes have been made for the better. Let me step inside, which is a pleasure to be honest, because the interior is a nice place to be, and it feels quite grown up and upmarket considering the cost and type of car this is. I'm under no illusions. There are of course some harder scratchy plastics knocking about, but for the most part the interior is a nice place to be. You have a soft touch dashboard. I know some of you wonder why people like me bang on about a soft touch dashboard, but it just denotes higher quality. You also have a pleasing trim on the dashboard, a leather steering wheel which feels nice in the hands, faux leather inserts on the door cards, and these seats which are really nice to sit in. The base of the seat is foamy and moulds to your bum, if I'm going to be honest, which is pleasing. The bolstering is quite supportive and it feels like the seat hugs you, which can of course only be a good thing. And another thing I personally like is the seating position is low, so it feels quite sporty. Now, for those of you that struggle to get in and out of the car, this won't be a good thing for you, but of course the seat is height adjustable. The headrests are quite firm, if I'm going to be honest, but that is quite a picky complaint. Overall though, the interior, it is a positive place to be. One negative thing though are these silver bits of trim which have been made to mimic that lovely knurled finish you get in cars such as Bentleys or Astons, that kind of thing. And yes, it does look premium to look at, but to touch, it feels horrible. Thanks for trying, Renault, but no, this doesn't work. Yeah. Anyway, there's no doubt this car has style, but is there any substance to go with it? Well, let's go for a drive to find out. Seatbelt on, safety first. Right, let's go. Oh yeah, I might want to close that door. The new Clio is available with a choice of 5 engines, 3 petrol, 1 hybrid and 1 diesel. The engine I have is the mid-range petrol. It is a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged unit which offers 100 horsepower along with 160 newton meters of torque. If you prefer that in pound-feet, I will pop a subtitle below. Now, of course, this car won't be bought for its performance, but in case you're wondering, this engine will propel this Clio to 62 miles per hour in 11.8 seconds, and the top speed is 116 miles per hour. What you are probably more concerned about though is of course fuel economy. So on a combined run, Renault states this engine is able to offer up to 54.3 mpg, and in my experience, I took this car out for a good run out yesterday, I was able to get an average of 51.5. Not too bad considering I had a passenger in the car and I also had the climate control on. In regard to CO2 emissions, this engine emits 99 grams per kilometre, meaning for the first year of VED you'll have to pay £130, and if you're wondering about insurance, this car sits in insurance group 10. In regard to gearboxes, there's a choice of 2 for this engine. You can either have a 5-speed manual, which is what I've got here, or if you really must have an automatic, you can have a CVT, but to be honest, I'm yet to use a CVT which is any good. The Clio is quite an easy-going car. It's quite relaxing to drive and quite comfortable. The ride has got a bit of a firm edge to it though, so if you're expecting that typically French suppleness, you may be disappointed a little bit, but that's not to say this car is uncomfortable. On the plus side, these seats are really comfortable. They've got a nice sponginess on the seat base, and they're also quite supportive as well. It feels like the seat is hugging me. It almost feels like a sports seat. Now, that's not to say that it's unforgiving, because it isn't. Right, so the Clio is pretty good at a slow pace. What about when you want to attack a B road? Let's go. Okay, the engine isn't quite as responsive as a Ford EcoBoost unit. I wouldn't say it feels sluggish, but at the same time, hasn't quite got the same zestiness, the same fizziness of the EcoBoost engine. Maximum power comes in at 5,000 RPM, and maximum torque comes in at 2,750 RPM. So the engine does need to be worked a little bit despite having a turbocharger. But even on faster roads like this, I wouldn't say the engine feels gutless. Would I want a bit more performance? In all honesty, maybe just a bit more. However, you can have this engine with 130 horsepower if you want a bit more poke. But for the type of driving this car is likely to do, i.e. around town, this engine will be just fine. It won't really be the appropriate power plant for motorway driving, but again, this is a supermini, not really what it was designed for. Anyway, on to the handling. I do have a slow moving Mercedes in front of me. That is ruining my fun somewhat. The Clio is more rewarding to drive than I was expecting, if I'm going to be honest. There's less body roll than I was expecting. There's a good amount of grip. The steering weight is actually quite satisfactory. The steering weight when you're driving about is quite light, but it makes the car easier to navigate the urban jungle. But thankfully, when you're on a road like this, the steering does become a bit more meaty. However, there is a bit of a problem with the steering. Although the weight may be fine, the actual feedback and communication is lacking. There's definitely an air of vagueness about the steering setup in the Clio. You go through some corners and, if I'm going to be honest, it does feel a little bit like guesswork in regard to what those front wheels are doing. Right, put the Clio through its paces a bit more. So it does take a while for it to really climb through the rev range, but I wouldn't say it feels slow. And once you wind it up and get it up to speed, it can be relatively fun. Right, on those brakes, which perform pretty well, into third, turn in. I must say I am impressed about the way how the Clio controls its body roll. I thought this would flop about like a fish out of water, but you know what? It is accomplished. I can't really fault it. Even though this is on more eco kind of tyres, it's not too bad through the corners in regard to grip. And it can be hustled down a B road. That's a decent amount of lick. Now let's bring things back down to earth a little bit and speak more about the more sensible things such as refinement. Refinement on the whole is pretty good. Once you get the engine up to speed, you'll barely hear it. In fact, you'd almost question if it's running. There's a bit of tyre noise coming into the cabin, but I wouldn't say it's by any means deafening. Wind noise is pretty well controlled as well. And even when you're driving this on a motorway or a dual carriageway, you shouldn't really find the need to shout at your passenger, to be honest. Visibility isn't too bad either. I've got no problem seeing out the front. At no point have I personally had a problem with the A-pillar causing an obstruction. I think it's because the windscreen is quite raked, therefore you shouldn't really find any issues at junctions. Wing mirrors are of a decent size. Okay, your blind spot isn't that great in regard to visibility. The C-pillars are quite thick, and even though the rear window looks quite small, seeing through it is absolutely fine. I've got no problem whatsoever. However, if you need a bit of assistance when parking, this trim level, as standard, comes with rear parking sensors. Speaking of trim levels, the new Clio is available in a choice of 5, ranging from £15,895 through to £22,495. The model shown in this video is the Iconic, which sits just above the base model with a starting price of £16,895, although this particular car does have a few options. As standard, the Iconic comes with LED headlights, 16-inch alloys, keyless entry, 7-inch touchscreen with DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone connectivity and navigation, rear parking sensors, tinted rear windows, electric front windows, air conditioning and front fog lights. To put that into some kind of perspective, the Iconic trim level is cheaper than the base model Fiesta when fitted with an equivalent engine, but offers a bit more equipment. The boot is bigger as well, but I'll get onto that a little bit later. There's a good amount of safety features as well, including 6 airbags, autonomous emergency braking, lane keep assist and lane departure warning, traffic sign recognition, hill start assist and Renault automatic emergency assist. Therefore, it should come as little surprise that the new Clio has been awarded 5 stars from Euro NCAP, with an impressive 96% given to adult occupancy safety. The Clio is well equipped and safe, but how practical is it? When it comes to boot space, the Renault Clio is king of the hill because it offers 391 litres, which is around 100 more than a Fiesta and about 50 more compared to a Volkswagen Polo or a Seat Ibiza. To open the boot, you actually have a button under the bumper, like you get on a brand new Mazda MX-5, by the way. Open the boot up, and yes, like I say, you'll be greeted by 391 litres. There is a bit of a downside because the boot is quite deep. There is a really high load lip, so if you want to load bigger, heavier items, then it may be a bit of a faff because you have to lift them up, over and into the boot. However, you cannot deny the boot space is very, very impressive. However, if you want even more space, you can of course fold down the 60/40 rear seats to give you 1,069 litres. As always, the driver's seat has been set for me. I'm 6'2", so I am of course a taller chap. Let me step in like so, take the weight off my feet. Now, as you can hopefully see, space for me in the back of the Clio is a bit limited. Knee room comes at a bit of a premium, and the leg room isn't exactly great either. I can fit my feet underneath the seat in front of me though, so I can stretch out a little bit. But yes, it is a bit cramped, and headroom is limited as well. I've only got a few millimetres spare, so if I were an inch taller, I'd be complaining right now. I'm under no illusions, this is a Super Mini, therefore it isn't really designed to carry people of my height in the back for a long distance, so I'm not going to be too critical of the Clio. However, what I will say is that compared to a Seat Ibiza or a Volkswagen Polo, this isn't overly good. But to be fair, this is roughly the same as you would get from a Ford Fiesta or a Suzuki Swift. I think it goes without saying that you would struggle to fit 3 adults in the rear. But of course, if you're more concerned about carrying children and indeed child seats, there are of course ISOFIX points. In regard to practicality, there isn't a lot of it back here. You do have map pockets, so if you're still one of those people that still prefer to use an A to Z in 2020, then good news, you've got somewhere to put it. There are door bins which aren't massive, but with a bit of jiggery pokery, I can fit in this bottle. It's like a military operation. There we go, it is in. And of course you have hooks up here where you can hang up an item of clothing. One thing I will say, I don't know if it's because I've got quite lanky legs or I'm as flexible as a plank of wood, but I do find getting out of the Clio isn't the most dignified or easiest thing to do. I just find the opening is not ideal. So if you are a taller person, or maybe you've got someone in your family with mobility problems, that is worth bearing in mind. So I personally find it a little bit tricky to get in and out of the Clio, out to just hit my left shin. That's a great example. So yes, I'd bear that in mind. The front of the Clio offers a good amount of practicality. And the driving position is very easy to get set up. I'm 6'2", as I mentioned a few moments ago, but thankfully I have a steering wheel that adjusts for rake and reach like so, and a driver's seat which has plenty of adjustment. In regard to practicality, it's not too bad in here. The door bins aren't massive, but I can fit in a 500ml bottle, and there's a bit of space left over. There's a little slot down here where you can pop your smartphone or your wallet or any other smaller items, and down here you've also got 2 USB ports, an auxiliary port and a 12-volt socket. There's a handy little cradle where you can pop the car key. I like that. Good thinking, Renault, well done. 2 cup holders in the middle. I've got my larger bottle here. This is 750ml and it just about fits. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, but it is in there. There's also a bit of storage underneath the optional armrest. I've got my health conscious sausage roll in there. And that leaves you with a glove box, which to be honest isn't overly big, but there is enough room in there for my packet of sweets. Lovely. So there we have it, the brand new Renault Clio. Can it do enough to maintain its best-selling status in Europe? Well, I certainly think the Mark V makes a compelling case for itself. It's stylish both outside and inside, offers a big boot, it is practical, comfortable, offers a good amount of kit at a good amount of value for money, and it offers a decent drive as well. So it ticks many boxes. Come on then, Renault, when's the RS model coming? Come on, you know you want to. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.